श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोकुलनंद राधा गोकुलनंद राधा गोकुलनंद श्री राधे जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय राधा नंदनेश्वर राधा नंदनेश्वर राधा नंदनेश्वर श्री राधे Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. जय श्री श्री गौरीताई की
जय
जय। श्री श्री राधा गोकुलंद भगवान की
जय
श्री
Jai.
श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की
जय
श्री
Jai.
श्री राधा लक्ष्मेश्वर भगवान की
जय
श्री
Jai.
श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की
जय
Jai.
जय श्री निताई गौर की जय।
जय
Jai. Hare Krishna so much. It's so lovely to hear both father and daughter singing today. Sahiti, thank you so much for gracing us with your beautiful kirtan. Thank you so much. You have to come every week now.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna
it's
Mataji.
beautiful. And you both sang so well together. It's lovely to sing with your father. It's
Thank you,
beautiful. Thank you so
Mataji.
much.
Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you so much. Sahiti, as you're here, can we trouble you once more to do the Mangla Charan? I'll put it on for you. Only if you can, only if you want to, yeah?
Yeah. Om Ajnanantimirandasya Jnananjalasalakaya Chakchuram Militam Yena Tasmat Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri-Guroः Shri-Yuta-Patakamalам Shri-Gurun Vaishnavaംश्च Shri-Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri-Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvatamश्च.
Hey Krishna Karuna
हे
Sindhu
कृष्ण कर्ण सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते
Taptaka
तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि
Pranamami
हरिप्रिये
Hari Priye Pancha
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च
Vacha
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
Vaishnavibhyo
नमः
Namo Namaha
नमो
Namo
विष्णुपादाय
Krishna Krishna
कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले
Bhutale
स्वयं रूप
Srimate
कदा
Bhakti Vedanta
श्रीमते
Swami
भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी
Swami Namine
नमस्ते
Namaste
सरस्वती देवे
Saraswati
गौरवाणी
Gauravani
प्रचारिणे
Pracharine
निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे
Vasudevan Jai Shri Krishna
जय श्री कृष्ण
Shri Krishna
चैतन्य प्रभु
Chaitanya
नित्यानंद श्री
Nityananda
अद्वैत
Shri Advaita
गदाधर
Gadadhara
श्रीवासादि
Shivasati
गौरभक्तवृंद
Gauravatanda
हरे कृष्ण
Hare
हरे कृष्ण
Krishna 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 Hare
हरे
Hare Hare
राम
Rama
राम
Hare
राम
Rama
हरे
Rama
हरे
Rama Hare
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna. Thank you so much, Zahidi, for blessing us all with your beautiful Mangla Sharon. Thank you so much, dear. I hope you stay on to listen as well. Yeah. You got school tomorrow. No, you got half term now, no? Have you got half term? Okay. Right. Okay. So thank you so much again, Sahiti. So we're going to carry on with our verses with this, especially this amazing. We're still on that same 14th chapter. It's just there's so much nectar in these every paragraphs. So Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, so Hare Krishna, everyone. We're going to continue. Last week we were speaking about surrender, and we spoke a little bit about Sharanagati and we spoke about Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj's a little bit about his commentary and the fact that I think one of the key things that we have to develop is humility. Now, humility is like a really deep quality. So, essentially, when we think about humility, we're thinking about, that we have like a modest view of ourselves. We don't want a view of ourselves that's too low. Then we can go into depression or, like, then it's like, oh, we're not worthy of anything. But obviously, we hear that, in so many of our prayers, so many of these saints, they're literally singing, I'm not worthy. And but they're the ones that, Krishna gives the most mercy to, so to speak. But they actually feel like that. They're very, 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 their humility it's on a different level, as opposed to, someone that just doesn't feel worthy because, for whatever reason, their psychology is that they haven't, been shown that love or affection, and then they kind of go into a state of depression. So we're not really talking about that kind of I'm not enough, that kind of humility. But what we're talking about is just having a modest view of ourselves. So especially when we go into devotional service, of course, there is this and I think we need to bring it up. The more scriptures we read, the more we become, the more great association we have, the more better our sangha gets, the more the more Lord is pleased with us, the more material opulence there might be, or whatever the side effects of bhakti is. It's really important that we have this quality called of humility, because even Lord Brahma, he thinks he's the only, Lord Brahma. And we hear that, after the Brahma Vimohan Leela, Lord Krishna, when he summons Lord Brahma, his pride is broken, because Brahma thinks he's the only Brahma, but that's not true. So there's like, there's Brahmas with 10 heads, 100 heads, and Krishna says, which Brahma is it? So if Lord Brahma himself, who is the creator, if Krishna is showing him that, this pride, or this puffed upness that actually comes from spirituality, it's not good, then Krishna himself is like sort of saying that. So it's really important that we don't have too much of an important view of ourselves. So it's just understanding this modesty, but at the same time we don't go so low that we become like, I don't know, suicidal or like something stupid like that. But it's about this view of modesty, and it's really important that we maintain it. So anytime we have to keep checking ourselves, especially in devotion, if we ever think we're becoming too much, because sometimes, of course, good things are going to happen to us when we're in devotional service. It's just natural that we'll get this, a lot of certain abilities come, certain opulence might come, certain respect might come, certain, and all these things, actually we have to see them as what they are, and actually they're coming from Krishna anyway. So the best way is just to offer them back to him, or if they're coming through our guru, is just to offer them back, because actually they don't belong to us. And even like Srila Prabhupada, when he was asked, like, you're all these Vyas pujas that are happening. And actually Srila Prabhupada said that, he wanted in every temple that his his form is there in the temple, because he knows that in Kali Yuga people won't be able to, because Krishna's power is so much, and Krishna is, in a way, he's always giving us also. So he wanted his not because he's he's he thinks, oh, it's just him, but it's because he knows that people will misuse. If we go into Srimad Bhagavatam, if we read between the lines, then we can understand that, Srila Prabhupada in his purpose, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Krishna's own words, this name, fame, adoration, glory that comes with everything, it's the downfall. It's a bigger downfall than not even having, or having a demoniac quality. It's the spiritual, and then there is a hell for spiritual. Like, if we really, it's really, 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 really important that we don't take that we don't go down, just the spiritual power doesn't get to our head as well, because it's more intoxicating maybe even than, like, what Kali projects us to, which is, all the intoxication of them. Even what Maya, even Maya might not be as strong as some of this intoxication. And Maya, like, her last lure is basically making someone think that they are God. But that might be her last lure. But in terms of spirituality, the higher we go, the more, if there is lots of side benefits of this, which sometimes we see. Like, if someone has an ulterior motive, Krishna will, there's all these, they won't normally stick to Krishna's teachings. They'll think of other things. They'll concoct other things, whether they call it different names or whatever. Oh, it's all in the name of, oh, hell. But actually, it's not. The only way is Krishna. And when we come away from that, and we can dilute it as much as we want, but actually, we're cheating Krishna, and Krishna is the biggest cheater of all, like he says in Bhagavad Gita also. So if we cheat Krishna, then we have to accept that he's going to cheat us back. So there's no point in cheating Krishna. He's standing there, he's watching everything. I remember someone in Mayapur once saying to me, they were really disgusted by the way that they were being treated. And they had the truth on their side. And eventually, in the beginning, it looks like, oh, Krishna's backing the wrongdoers. But actually, after time, actually the real story comes out. And then you realize that Krishna's not sleeping, everything is being, at that time, for that person, it was very distressful, because that she was telling the truth. And I remember, like, and just saying that, where's Krishna's mercy and where's Krishna's justice in this? But actually, he is looking, he's not sleeping. And just because the wrongdoers might think they get away with it, actually they don't. And Krishna is the biggest cheat of all cheats. So nothing is hidden from him. So it's really important that this point of humility, that we don't take it lightly. So it's not that we go so down that we get depressed about it, but it's just understanding that we have our importance according to maybe any other's importance. So it's not to think of ourselves more important or less important even, but just to have that kind of neutral view that we're all part and parcel of Krishna. And in that way, it's really important that we don't go too, like, the bhakti doesn't, like, we use bhakti as a stepping stone for creating an ego, a false ego, which is even more dangerous than an ego which is just ignorant. So that, I think that's much more important, because if you know when you do it, that's probably even worse. And Krishna does speak about this kind of thing, and Srila Prabhupada, in his books, in his text, he knows what Kali Yuga is going to hold. And I think he's trying to protect us all from that mentality. And it's really, really important that we keep checking ourselves that's our self-awareness, that, you know, am I going a bit too far? Because, you know, in spiritual life, if we get one kind of joy from it, it's like, oh, you know, it must, you know, I must, it's really, really important that we give that glory and that positivity back to Krishna, because it's coming from him. So it's really, really important that we don't internalize it and think that it's us, because that's when the problems will start, and that's when we actually start creating an ego, which is different from love, and which is different from bhakti. Because in bhakti there is no bhakti is just love. It's like love is continuous. We've heard, it's unmotivated, it's unconditional, it's ever, it continues. So there is no, that we must make sure that layer is not formed over us, otherwise we'll be in trouble. So humility, we spoke about that last week. So we're going to go a little bit deeper today in terms of wait, where are we? Wait. Right. So we spoke about surrender, and like certainly certain qualities that are so, you know, this pure heart. So we're just going to go into some of these little bit of like deeper kind of insights. So persons who have been cleansed by devotional service and are always joyful, being situated in elevated consciousness, who are very much attached to studying Srimad Bhagavatam, who are always cheerful in the association of devotees, who have accepted the lotus feet of Krishna as the ultimate shelter of their lives, and who are pleased to perform all details of devotional service, such devotees have in their pure hearts the transcendental ecstasy of attachment, which has been developed through old and new reformatory practices. That ecstasy state of being enriched with love of Krishna and transcendental experience gradually develops into the mature bliss of spiritual life. Tasting such spiritual bliss is not possible for those who are not situated in Krishna consciousness and devotional service. This fact is further collaborated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.313, where it is said that it is very difficult for the non-devotee to understand the taste of devotional service. Only one who has completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna and whose life is merged in the ocean of devotional service can understand this transcendental pleasure. And then I'm going to do this verse as well today. Lord Chaitanya thus briefly explained the transcendental situation, the spiritual relish of life, which he called the fifth stage of perfection. And then he lists what the stages of perfection are. This is really important. I think this is another very important verse. So he says the first stage of perfection is to become a religious man in the ordinary sense. So I suppose we can all relate to that. It's just, you know, the religious person that we see in the sort of general sense, they're following the dharma. Not too, you know, it's just a normal kind of everyday kind of person, but obviously still understanding that dharma is there. So that's the first stage of perfection as known in the material world. So obviously we see lots of these people. You're generally your grahastas mainly, or, you know, even it could be sadhus as well, but they're a little bit more, I suppose, a little bit more elevated. The second stage of perfection is to become materially rich. So it's weird, like, you know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here says that materially they may also choose to become rich. We'll have a discussion about that. The third stage of perfection is the attainment of complete sense enjoyment. So it's weird that he's saying that you have to have this sense enjoyment and be materially rich to, you know, it's one of the stages. The fourth stage of perfection is liberation. So obviously here we're talking about mukti. You know, some of these things are in the marriage vows, artha, dharma, kama, moksha. So this you know, this act, you know, this freedom, which, you know, so many of us are looking for. But above liberation, those in the 5th stage of perfection, those who are established in Krishna consciousness or devotional service to the Lord. So the already liberated devotees who reach the highest perfection of devotional service in Krishna consciousness experience taste of the ecstasy of spiritual relish. So it's not that you have to go through all those things just to, if we are Krishna conscious, we can just attain. It doesn't matter if we're materially rich or if we're a religious person, or we're mukt. But the fact that we're in Krishna consciousness and we're doing devotional service, all those other things, in essence, they all come, and it might, and we're already experiencing such a bliss that all of those things, one, they don't matter, and two, we've already bypassed them. They're not, it's not that those things aren't there, they are there, but there is something higher than that. And that spiritual happiness, it bypasses all of those things. So like a spiritually realized person, they don't have to be living they don't have to be sleeping on a bed, or with loads of cushions, and have all the material opulence around them. They don't even need mukti. They could be in a they could be in a their physical body could be in a, I don't know, a prison, say, for example, yeah. Or they don't need all that sense enjoyment, because actually what they're getting is higher. The taste of it is higher. So if you can take yourself back to a stage or a state where you were so happy, it could be in childhood, or some time when you were just absolutely free, and you didn't have anything maybe, but you were just in absolute ecstasy and bliss. It's something along those lines, but it's spiritual, transcendental. It's Krishna conscious. It's not that we're attached to the body. It's just that we realize that we're in connection with Krishna, or we're a spirit soul. We're not just the material body. So some people can go through extortionate pain on a physical level, but because they're in Krishna consciousness, they don't necessarily feel that pain, because they're transcendental, and the consciousness has become transcendental. Or they could experience lots of distresses in life that another person might think, oh my god, like that's really distressing, like when we hear about stories of Sita Devi, or which we've spoken about earlier. But it looks very distressing, but actually, because she's in transcendental ecstasy, because she's merged with the Lord, she is the Lord, she's one with the Lord, she's his Shakti. So basically she doesn't feel it, because inside she's got, like in that situation, she's got Krishna, she's got Ram in her heart. So when we see the Rajvasis now, some of them, we'll sometimes see them crying because they think Krishna is so, he's still here and he's with them. But it's just that they're in the ecstasy. They don't care about anything else. It's just them and Krishna, because their consciousness has become so, and it looks like maybe spiritual madness, and it can be. It's not madness in the sense that we see, like in hospital or something. That's completely different. But this is like, you're so absorbed that actually nothing else really matters. It's just you and your relationship with Krishna. The rest is just things that you experience on a kind of bodily platform. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is literally talking about this here. So going back to this verse, this purity of heart, to just, in our action, we just have to be, it has to just be pure. Like when we're doing devotional service, it's not, yes, we want Krishna, we want him, and we want him to accept us. But apart from that, nothing else should really be there, because we want to do things to please Krishna. And spiritual life actually means being able to give, as opposed to take. And yes, of course, we have to reciprocate by receiving also, but it's our body's action. So there's we can serve him with our thoughts, we can serve him with our body, we can serve him with our endeavors. But most importantly, when we're talking about devotional service, it's not everything that's going to give us devotional service. It's the 9 process of devotional service as explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Atmanivedanam. What have I missed out? Archanam, Sakyam, and Vandanam. Yeah, the 9 processes. And it's, like we in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see so, like Lakshmi Devi is the epitome of Padasevanam, Arjuna of Sakyam, Bali Maharaj is Atmanivedanam, Kirtanam, Shravanam, like we've got Parikshit Maharaj, we've got Prahlad, we've got Prithu Maharaj. In different ways, we have these different personalities that embody this devotional service. And it's through that devotional service that we achieve that perfection. So if we was to read Srimad Bhagavatam, and if we was just to read it, relish it, that's all we have to do. And we're so fortunate in this Sangha that, mainly because of Amog Prabhu, he's, the fact that we're just reciting, we're getting so much benefit. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go and, create I don't know, mental health classes somewhere, or try to match make somebody, or you don't, all these things, they're just nonsense. They're just people's own creations of them not actually accepting what devotional service is all about. But just this act of listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, just doing kirtan, kirtanam, Shravan, it's just that's enough. That's all we have to do in devotional service to the rest will just come. It's not about running there, running there, running there, running here. It's about actually doing the practice that then the transcendental pleasure will always be there. And it's not about giving something. You can only give bhakti if you have bhakti. Otherwise, people will just tell you all nonsense. That's one of the things I've realized. Like, if for people's own money making scams or whatever, even Bhagavatam, it says in that you can't do it. You can't ask for money, and otherwise the benefit doesn't go to the listener or the hearer. There's no benefit. This is for mankind. It's a relationship of Krishna. So therefore, we have to be careful of. That's why Srila Prabhupada is so like, just say it as it is. You don't need to concoct it. Otherwise, you're just not giving. You're just creating it. You're just creating something that doesn't. It's only through Srimad Bhagavatam. It's only through recitation of those verses. It's only through reading purports of great Mahatmas. It's only through chanting Hari's name. Every potency is just in that name, Krishna. We just have to believe it. There is nothing else. If we just speak Krishna, 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 everything in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, everything is contained in there. We don't have to do anything different. We don't have to do anything separate. Everything, it's as easy or it's as hard as that. Like, complicate it can become complicated it's complicated for the complicated, simple for the simple. All we have to do is chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. All we have to do, that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. That's his phone number. That's his connection. We have to make the connection. That is the most important thing, not all the other things and the flowery language, because then it becomes the flowery language of the Vedas. All we have to do is just chant Hare Krishna. And hear and listen, and obviously read Srimad Bhagavatam, which we're so lucky to be able to do through these sanghas. There's nothing else. It's just the Lord's name. Everything else is just, it's waste. It's nonsense. It doesn't have. If we've got a human birth and we've got access to this, why would we do anything different anyway? Yes, we can say we have like all the practical things. Yes, we do. We have to, but actually, even that, it's just even, what does Parikshit Maharaj teach us? That, at the end of life, he gave up everything and he sat on the banks of the Ganges and he listened to Sukdev Goswami 7 days, 7 nights without eating, drinking water. His, the snake still bit him. But the fact that he relished this, he relished Krishna consciousness, he's telling us that is the purpose of life. There is no other purpose of life. The fact of having a human birth, are we going to waste it? No. We must. Spiritual life is an emergency. We must take up to Krishna consciousness, and without any deceit in that process, with that full open kind of absorption of that Krishna consciousness, because we can experience that nectar, that ecstasy in our, the fact that we have a material body, we'll be able to experience that transcendence in that, in having a form. And if we have a body, then serve Krishna. Why would we serve anything other than Krishna? There is nothing more than Krishna to serve. And someone that's a non-devotee, they can't understand this, because the non-devotee doesn't believe in Krishna. He might speak of Krishna, he might whatever, he might see in theory, but actually he doesn't believe in Krishna. He doesn't believe that we are serving somebody. So, for example, if we don't believe Krishna is with us all the time, it doesn't matter how many times we say it or think it or read it, or we have to believe it. We have to actually understand that we cannot focus, we cannot function without Krishna. So if anyone ever says to anyone that they're alone, this whole concept of, loneliness being such a big disease nowadays, and being alone, there is no, that doesn't exist, because in essence, we can't be alone. Krishna is with us all the time, through as Paramatma, but also around us, and he's with us all the time. The fact that we can't necessarily see him because we think, oh, we must see him to believe him, it's like, can you see love? No, but we know it's there. Can you see air? No, but we know it's there because we breathe. In the same way, Krishna is there. We have to fully understand. And when we're a devotee, we can fully understand that he's with us all the time. There is no time when he's never with us. He's the only well-wisher that's with us through life after life after life after life. And we must understand he's with us all the time, to experience him, to understand him, to talk to him, to ask him questions. There's never a time when he will not answer your question. If you ask him a question sincerely, that answer will come. However it comes, it will come. And it's just having that full-blown faith in Krishna. Krishna's not asking us for, he's actually not asking us for anything, but he obviously wants our love. Yeah, he says, "Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhakti prayachiti." So it's not that he wants the fruit or the leaf or the flower. It's all his anyway. But if we give it with love and devotion, that's the only thing that we can cultivate within ourselves. And the only way, even if if we're with a person and we feel a little bit like actually their love is insincere, then we actually, there is a blockage there. Yeah, there is a complete blockage. We think, oh, they just like me because I've got money, or they just like me because it's not really, it's just a physical relationship, but they just like me because of the societal benefit I give them, and they get prestige or whatever it is. We know a person's thinking, so unless it's pure, we don't accept. As humans, we don't accept. It's even if you feed animals and the food is dirty, they don't accept that food because they'll think of it as contaminated. Yeah, but why is it that Krishna should accept us without purity? Therefore, it's really important that we don't have this cheating mentality, because in humans, that cheating mentality is there. It's part of the 4 defects. It's said in Bhagavad Gita that all human beings, they have 4 defects. The one of the defects is to cheat. One is to cheat. One is to be misfortunate. Which one is to oh, let me just get these 4 defects because we can understand 4 defects according. Let me just can't remember them all. According to BG, the 4 defects of human life are: he must commit mistakes. So we all make mistakes. He must be illusioned. So we're under illusion anyway, okay? He must possess the tendency to cheat others. Okay, so even in devotional life, we see, like, people get a little bit of, and then they start cheating others. Yeah, whether it's in ISKCON or other sanstars, whatever, it's we see it, right? And then 4th is his senses must be imperfect. So the Lord, when he spoke Vedanta philosophy, Vedanta Sutra is spoken by the Supreme Lord himself. In his incarnation as Vyasadeva, he compiled the great philosophical treatise. Since Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, he cannot be likened to an ordinary person who has the 4 defects. Obviously, people like Vyasadeva, they don't have these defects. But, unless we're Vyasadeva, and obviously trying to be practicing devotees, Krishna does help us a little bit so that our defects are not so much. But still, a human being has the 4 defects. The defects are the defects of the conditioned soul. Yeah. So unless we're a liberated soul, obviously liberated souls like Vyasadeva and all these, big personalities, that's different. They don't have these. But if we're a conditioned soul and, we're prone to conditioning, 100% he must commit mistakes. He must be illusioned. Yeah, so we're always falling into Maya. It's like when Srila Prabhupada, when one of his disciples said, I'm trying to not be in Maya. And Srila Prabhupada said, most of the time we're in Maya. It's just sometimes we're in Krishna consciousness. So we fall under those defects. As soon as this class is over, we'll go and do our other things and we'll go back into Maya. But that's just normal. That as a human being, as a conditioned being, that's what's happening. It's just that we have a little bit of, spiritual protection. But if that wasn't there, we would go back into that illusion very quickly. Mistakes, we all know that they happen. And this possesses the tendency to cheat others. And his senses must be imperfect. So, this is said in the Upanishads. These Vyasadeva has spoken them, and he's a literary incarnation of Krishna. So, we have to accept that these are there, these imperfect senses. So, we might see something, our eye, just because we can't see Lord, that just means we have imperfect senses. Lord is there. Yeah, like Duryodhan, he couldn't see when Krishna showed his not his Vishwarup, but yeah, I think it was his Vishwarup. When he showed the Vishwarup in the assembly of the Kurus, when he went to be a peace messenger, Duryodhan was very rude to him and he wanted to capture him. And Krishna's like, you're going to capture me, kind of thing. And then eventually Krishna showed his Vishwarup, and obviously all the people there that were his devotees, they could see his Vishwarup and they all paid obeisances. But Duryodhan, being spiritually blind as he was, he even though Krishna was showing that Vishwarup, he couldn't accept it and he couldn't see it. So in the same way, we must understand that Lord is always with us. And take shelter of that fully. And the fact that, this devotional service, Srila Prabhupada said, we should be chanting 24/7. Obviously, we are, because we're conditioned, we need sleep and food, we're still in that. But somebody that's purely awake, they don't need so much sleep. Srila Prabhupada did all of this with very little sleep. Now, if I was not to sleep for a little while, eventually I would go crazy. I don't know how everybody else is, but I know, like, even just, there is a minimum amount of sleep that we need, or there is like a certain amount of food we need, or whatever. Otherwise it doesn't work with us psychophysiology. But it's really important that we continuously realize Krishna is there, and then with that in mind, we serve him, and that's done in the simple process. It's written very clearly how to serve Krishna. It's not that we concoct something different, like, Srila Prabhupada, when he went to America and then he saw all these yogas and people doing body yoga, even like some of ISKCON Maharajas, they go and do all this, but they're doing exactly everything against what Srila Prabhupada said, in the name of, oh, we're just trying to bring people in. But actually, why are they doing it if that is it's another form of cheating? Yeah. And we have to be conscious of these things, and just so that we don't do them, and we don't fall for them, because Srila Prabhupada has given us so much, and he's trying to protect us constantly. If we read Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole reason it's written is that we don't fall into the traps that life is going to present to us. So it's really important that we just stick to, it's like, the medicine. You take the medicine as it is. A doctor prescribes medicine and we take it as it is. And that's the same way we must treat Srimad Bhagavatam, and take it in that way. And there's nothing else we need to do. It's quite simple. And this, especially, this first stage, becoming a religious person, that's amazing. They're actually on this ladder. They're at least doing something that's for dharma, and it's not against dharma. And yes, it could be in any kind of situation, but they must realize that that's just the first stage. Sometimes when we don't have something, say for example, somebody's been born in a poorer, like, I don't know, materially poorer family, then naturally what will happen is that that family will say, okay, look, you're my son, you have to, like, you have to get us out of this poverty, basically, by getting a good job, by getting a good education, etc. So even that, when we're rich, when we're materially rich, if we've never experienced richness or material wealth, our body might hanker for that because we've never had it. But even in this case, it's saying, okay, just get rid of your material lust, so that you can move forward. Because once you become rich, then afterwards it's like, oh, okay, I've done that, then move forward. Because you've already become rich, it doesn't have that same lure that it did before. Like, if you're born in a poor family and you see other people rich around you, then you have this, oh, that's what I must attain, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just that, okay, once you've achieved it, it's like, okay, and what? Like, Gautam Buddha, he was a king, and he left everything. But the fact that he was a king, he had all that wealth, but then he renounced it. And it's only through renunciation that actually that we become it. And that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tried to show also, that he took on the garb of a sannyasi because he knew sannyasis are respected. If he didn't take that garb on, then he wasn't getting the same respect that, even as a 24-year-old, he wanted people to, really follow him because he is God, and obviously he wants to show how to do devotional service. And that's exactly what he did. He explained through that tyag. He had a beautiful wife, he had his mother, he was very young, very beautiful, but he left all that to chant Harinam. Now, again, if he had stayed in Grihastha life, or he might not have, the fact that if we think about it, only Tyagis are called Swamis, aren't they? They're like, you know, and you know, Swami, you know, even if someone is like a millionaire, we never call them Swami. Like we, you know, just because they've got loads of money, or you know, we don't call them Swami because someone has a lot of money. It's only when we renounce it, like, you know, then we, you know, Prabhupada Swami, like it's only when he renounced it. He wasn't Swami before, when he was a chemist, or you know, even writing for back to Godhead, or he wasn't a Swami till then. It's because he's conquered that sense of material, you know, he's given it up. That's when that soul is then further elevated. So yeah, being rich is, you know, it might be a part of that stage. And then, you know, this sense enjoyment. So obviously with Krishna, we're told that, you know, our sense enjoyment has to be bona fide. So whether it's through marriage or you know, there's a certain limit as how much we can enjoy our senses. And you know, how much sense enjoyment is this body going to take anyway? Like, you know, are we able to eat 100 delicious cakes, you know, without falling sick? No, we don't have even the body to experience like full bliss, because again, there's limit to it. Like if there was 100 delicious cakes, could we eat them all? No, because we'll feel sick. So even that sense control, it has to be in proportion to what the body is able to handle. And then the fourth stage is liberation. So when you've done all of those things, afterwards you just kind of think, okay, I've done it. Actually, this is giving me no joy, because what we will realize at one point that the money is not going to give us, or the, you know, the sense enjoyment is not going to give us what we're looking for, because the soul will be it will be empty still, because the soul needs Paramatma. It needs the super soul to, it's where the electricity comes from. So, you know, so to speak, like we need to be connected. Otherwise, we can't feel a joy and bliss at any stage of our life. And therefore, we have to be Krishna conscious. If we're Krishna conscious, everything is always great and happy. We're already liberated. We're already, so gyanis are mostly the ones that want liberation, because they've lived everything, and then they can say, oh, that doesn't give me joy, or they see other people, they've lived it, and then they realize actually the joy is not coming, because, you know, if we do too much sense enjoyment, then some things are going to happen, and actually there is no joy in those things. So gyanis will normally they will want to attain liberation, or yogis might want to from the suffering of the world. But nevertheless, we can't be happy without Krishna, because we're part and parcel of Krishna. Without even Krishna himself, he for the sake of relationship, to cherish his relationships, he expands himself as Balram. And then he has, obviously, even in the Chaitanya Leela, his internal potency, that, you know, the one becomes two in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srimati Radharani, and Krishna. He wants to also enjoy and relish his relationship. So we are no different. We need to relish that relationship with Krishna. We can't, mukti is not going to satisfy the soul. So even if we get mukti in this life, and, you know, we're like in the state of shanti, peace, floating around, you know, some light being somewhere, that, you know, eventually we will take form again, because we want to relish a relationship with Krishna. It's only through that relationship with Krishna, and that's why we have a material body. So why not just through this body relish that relationship, get to those higher stages of transcendence, because we'll just feel happy all the time, and we can use that body in that way. to experience joy by serving Krishna. We can serve our wife, we can serve our husband, we can serve our parents, we can serve our children, our society, our boss, our whatever. It's none of them is going to give us pleasure. Absolutely none of them. You know, you can serve your children all your life. Eventually they're going to go off and have their own families. You can serve your parents. One day they're going to leave you. You know, your parents are going to have their own wishes and desires as well. You can serve your boss. He's just there, you know, using your labor. Whoever you think you're serving, it's never ever going to bring you any joy unless you see Krishna inside them, and unless you're serving Krishna. It's only through service of Krishna that we can ever become happy. Otherwise, it's not really possible. We can, you know, even people that are doing really well materially, that sometimes they're unhappy because they're not fulfilled, because Krishna is not in the equation. So between, like, all of us in our relationships, even with each other, if we had a mundane relationship with each other and Krishna wasn't the center of it, there would be no joy, there would be no happiness. We would just be like normal people talking to each other in a normal way, and eventually there would be no relishment of that. But because we've put Krishna in the center, that's why every day we can meet in the morning for japa. Every day we can come back in the evening, like when we have no strength at all, and do a sangha. You know, that strength is coming from Krishna because we put Krishna in the center. If we put any one of us in the center, it will not work. It's only when we put Krishna. And that's the difference between the material and spiritual consciousness. In the material consciousness, we are the center. And in the spiritual consciousness, Krishna is the center and everything else is trying to please him. And through pleasing him, we are pleased and our senses are pleased. Because otherwise we could say, oh, you know, Krishna, why should we worship him? And, you know, what's the point? But it's actually, again, he's so kind. He's not even doing it for his benefit. It's for our benefit. It's only when we put Krishna in the center that we can experience joy and happiness. Otherwise, it's actually not possible. You can, you know, even if we look at some of these big theorists like Maslow, where they say that, you know, once your basic needs are met, then your emotional needs, your relationship needs, and then you work towards self-actualization. And yes, it does make sense, but to even meet the basic need, you still need to have a level of self-actualization. And even if you meet self-actualization and you go into mukti, you're still not going to, you know, eventually the aspect of relationship which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching us so clearly, you know, it's chant Harinam, connect with Krishna. You know, even his food, whichever way we do it, it's through that act of Krishna. And as much as we keep saying it, as soon as we'll finish this, we might go back into our illusion. But that's why we have to keep staying connected to people that are Krishna conscious, because our consciousness, it drifts and changes throughout the day. And you know, the more Krishna conscious we are, the more happier we'll ever be. And those people that live in like very, very devotional societies where, you know, 24/7 it's about Krishna, their joy knows no bound. They will never leave that situation because they know that nothing in the material world is going to give them any amount of pleasure that Krishna consciousness can give. Okay, so at that, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to open up for questions. Any questions, comments, corrections?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
yeah, it was a wonderful session again. It very well said, Mataji, that Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, nothing, even if we pray for those things, it will never satisfy us. With having all those four will not satisfy. anything. So that was very nicely explained. Thank you, Mataji. And also, like how we forget how Maya will take over us the moment we are done. Again, we go back to our normal routine, normal material life, which is so true. And Sangha is so important. And thank you, Mataji, for a wonderful class. Yeah, beautiful. I don't have any questions as such, Mataji, but yeah, a lot of nice realizations. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
And we can keep Krishna in the center of all those things as well.
Yes, 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 Mataji, that's true. Yes, Mataji.
Um, okay, I think then we'll leave it at that if there's nothing else. And yeah, we need Nishinga Dev prayers. Who's going to do Nishinga Dev prayers? Gaurangi Mataji and Swarup Prabhu?
Sure, Mataji.
Haribol, okay. And Gaurangi Mataji is there as well. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, so whenever you're ready, and I'll put it
Okay,
on.
Mataji. Boss na exit maya magana pa rin. Hare Krishna Mataji. Shall I
Hare
start,
Krishna.
Mataji? Okay.
Huh?
Shall I start or later,
Yes, please.
Mataji?
Yeah, whenever you're
Okay.
ready. Yeah.
You start,
Okay.
Mataji. I'll follow you.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Praladadayine.
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 Hiranyakashipurvachahai.
Hirannakashipurvakshaya.
Hiranyakashipurvachahai.
Hirannakashipurvakshaya.
Silatanka nakhalaye.
Shrilatanka Nakhalaye.
Silatanka nakhalaye.
Shrilatanka Nakhalaye.
Ito nasimo parato nasimo.
Ito Narsimho Parato Narsimho.
Ito nasimo parato nasimo.
Ito Narsimho Parato Narsimho.
Yato yato yami tato nasimo.
Yato Yato Amitato Narsimho.
Yato yato yami tato nasimo.
Yato Yato Yamitato Narsimho.
Bahir nisimo hridaye nisimo.
Bahir Narsimho Hridaye Narsimho.
Bahir nisimo hridaye nisimo.
Bahir Narsimho Hridaye Narsimho.
Nasingamadim saranam prapade.
Narasimham Adim Sharanam Prapade.
Narasingamadim saranam prapade.
Narasimham Adim Sharanam Prapade.
Tavakara kamalavare. Nakham Adbhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringam Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare.
Tava kara kamale Tava kara kamalavare nakham adbhuta shringam dalita hirannakasipu tanubhringam keshavadhrita narahari rupa jaya jagadish hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare
Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare.
Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev.
Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Narsimha Dev Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Narsinga Dev
Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev.
Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Narsinga Dev
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Bhakta Prahlad.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Bhakta Prahlad
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Bhakta Prahlad.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Bhakta Prahlad
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol.
Nitai Gaura Haribol 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol
Sri Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki,
Jai,
Jai
प्रहलाद महाराज की,
Jai,
Jai
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की,
Jai.
Jai
निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे.
Hari
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 Bol
Hari
Bol.
Bol. Hare Krishna. Mataji,
Hare
thank you,
Krishna
Mataji.
Hare
And
Krishna.
thank you,
Hare
Thank you
Krishna
so
Prabhuji.
much. Thank you. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much. So with that, Vanchakalpa, Tarobhyascha, Kripa Sindhu, Bhayavacha, Patitanam, Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo,
Vaishnavebhyo,
Namo Namaha.
Namo
Ananta
Namaha.
Koti Vaishnavrinda ki,
Jai.
Jai,
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jai,
Jai, Hare Krishna. Ananta
Hare
Koti
Krishna.
Vaishnavrinda ki. Jai.
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 Hare Krishna. See you all tomorrow.